come into the industry with this vision, yourself and the guys from Prime Pulse, and you've been through this process, which has kind of been pedal to the metal the whole time, and you've been going at quite a speed. What surprised you during that time? What was as you expected it to be, and what was unexpected along that route?
I mean, what really surprised me was, in terms of management, I was expecting that we will find a lot of people in the acquired companies which are not, being able to adapt to this very agile and team-oriented kind of system, so that we need finally to exchange them. I was even, in my, deep heart, I was estimating something that we need to change, half of the people over the course of the years. I mean, this was not the case. It seems like that most of even differently educated or socialized managers love to work in an environment like this, where you don't have, this everyday politics that you need to be blame, somebody else, doing some finger pointing, cover your ass, all those kind of things. I mean, many people learn in their, socializing of their personality over the years in big organizations, that's the way to survive. But I was very positively surprised how many people who can behave like this prefer not to behave like this and work environment where you can focus on getting things done together. And that's, I mean, this was one of the very, very positive surprise, I need to say.
So an organization that becomes very goal driven as a result of that, and becomes, I think the sense that I get when I look at the team is there's that passion and creativity and innovation, but there's also that perseverance to see where the finish line is, and to head towards it. And perhaps that's why you've got where you've got to so quickly. Were you surprised by the timeline as well? Did you expect to get there early when you set that 5-year goal?
Right, yeah. What I also underestimated in a positive way, by the way, was, I mean, how useful, how positive it is that I can rely on Prime Pulse as a major shareholder. So I was very positively surprised about, let me say, the pace of the M&A team I was able to use. There's an M&A team around Markus Zaller, who also headed, in former times, the M&A team of Cancom. So, I mean, he is really extremely experienced to getting M&A deals done. So to work together with this very, very small but very efficient team was one of the key success factors. So to bringing together my experts on the business and the M&A experts, who help us to make it happen with all the deal mechanics, And I mean, it's a very, very small team, but of course they had experienced lawyers in the background, experienced, kind of due diligence experts, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, this team approach then also, beyond the borders of KATEK, together with the Prime Pulse team, was really fascinating. I mean, Ramona, our head of marketing, I mean, even before, by the way, the IPO, I had only the communications team, which was 2 people, from Prime Pulse, and I used them fully. I mean, they worked like hell to help me to make it happen, and I worked with them like they were part of the KATEK team. And only now we have Ramona, and I mean that's fantastic. Without the
leanness of the organization.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Leverage effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, like you say, it's people that are working towards objectives, but their objective isn't to build as big a department as they can, or, to have a particular title or something like that. It's all about delivering on that vision. So we take that vision and we accelerate it, and we get to the point of reaching the size that you initially talked about. And we've talked about this before, and the importance of scale in terms of buying power, but also being at the table in terms of negotiation. And you've achieved that. And then we get to the point of the IPO, which has been done early, and gives you some fuel to go forward. If I know Rainer, and I think I do, that doesn't make you want to relax and slow down. That makes you want to kind of push harder, go further, keep going. Is the vision any different now? And how does your view of the next steps change because of what's happened in this year?
Yeah. I mean, maybe to understand the next steps. I mean, let me start from the beginning, when we started with the M&A strategy. The strategy was, as you rightly said, Phil, that, I mean, very, very fast, we wanted to get to a decent size in order to be relevant in the eyes of the customers, but also in the eyes of the suppliers. So size was, I mean, everything was, mattered, in the first, let me say, 1.5 years. And also the M&A strategy followed this direction. We need to have a decent size. Then the second part was, okay, now we have a decent size. Now we need to fill certain gaps in order to be able to cover the entire value chain of electronics, from hardware, software engineering, this all, up to the after sales services. And I mean, we are still not there where we should be, but I mean, we can offer now every customer the full value chain. This was the second step. The third step was that I had the deep conviction, also by the way, in terms of margins, that, I mean, being the electronics partner is important, and that's the key of our business. That's the core of our business. But with all the know-how we are having in terms of electronics, it would also make sense in certain areas like renewables, like e-mobility, like telecare, to go into the broader market of complete solution systems, devices, where electronics, is making a difference, but where you can play out all your capabilities in order to be successful in some of those kind of vertical markets. And that's why we enhanced our capabilities in certain of this very interesting growth markets, like the acquisition of some of the Carco businesses from Siemens in the renewables area, or the acquisition of Telealarm in the telecare area. So this was the third part. And now, I mean, all of those journeys, they have not yet, come to an end. So this will continue, all of these three elements. But if I now look into the future, I'm looking, the next step, of course, we will be, above 500 million this year in terms of revenues. Even the shortage will not hold up getting there. Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, very clearly, I mean, the next step must be to get a clear path to get to the billion. Because if you have 1 billion, you are, one of the top 2 in Europe.
And one of the top 20 globally. Yeah.
Exactly. You can also conquer, some rest of the world. So that's very, very clearly the target. And at the same time, I also want to get to the capabilities to more and more being able to serve the really big industrial customers in addition to stuff. Let me say in ABB or in Honeywell, or I mean those kind of categories where you have multi-billion businesses, where you need another, let me say, an operating system as an electronics company to serve them in the way they deserve and they expect it. Okay. So that's the next kind of evolution. And the third element, so it's 1 billion being one of the top 2 in Europe. It's having the capabilities to also serve those global multinational companies. And the third one is to further strengthen our capabilities in those mentioned growth markets, like healthcare, like e-mobility. We talked privately more about e-mobility on water, which we think is the next thing, and we want to play a major role there. And of course, also the renewables area. So those are the 3 elements in order for the evolvement of the next couple of years. And I mean, where we are now, I mean, we expected that this would, that this would need something like 5 years. I mean, we got there in 2.5 years. So, I'm a little bit more prudent with my predictions right now, how long this will take. But maybe it's faster than everybody expected.